everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video review, and this will be a review of Shogun Season 1. And we'll overall ask the question as to whether it's been the best show so far within 2024. Now there could be spoilers throughout for this series, so just beware when going to this overall video. Now the 10 episode mini-series itself was created by Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks, and debuted on streaming on FX and Hulu way back now on February the 27th, 2024. It is a Japanese historical epic based on a novel of the same name written way back in 1975 by James Clavell, and it was previously adapted into a miniseries in 1980. Now the story of this series is set within feudal Japan in the 16th century, where we follow the central character of Lord Toranaga, who is the lord of the Kanto region and also the president of the Council of Regents. As well as having many loyal supporters, he also has to deal with many rivals and antagonists who want to usurp his positions. Now the biggest of these rivals is known as Lord Ishido, who is one of the members of the council and also is the ruler of Osaka. Now a significant event looks to affect the whole dynamic when a group of English sailors arrive in Japan on a Dutch trading ship known as Erasmus. Taken prisoner by the local samurai, they also confiscate their ship's cargo and weapons. Most of the crew are separated or executed, but their leader John Blackthorne is spared and hoping to be used by Toranaga for his knowledge of the high seas and also weaponry and naval combat. Over the course of the story, we see several individuals with their own ambitions and agendas looking to further their position within the ongoing conflict. Lord Toranaga himself adopts several plans and strategies in order to survive and ultimately get the upper hand over Ishido and the other members of the council. Now when looking at Shogun and asking as to whether it's the best show currently of 2024 and whether it will go on to be the best series of this year, the likely answer to both questions is a resounding yes. Just as a pure piece of television, it's mightily impressive, and in the current era where there is so much debate over the lack of quality and entertainment from movies and television or animation, how refreshing it is to have a show with that real serious epic tone, so rich and textured in terms of storytelling, characterization and production, and it's all great to see. And without question, one of the show's biggest strengths is indeed its production, of which the quality is truly immaculate. The setting of Japan is created magnificently with the aesthetic looking so good, perhaps too good for television, really giving all of those vibes of a true cinematic movie. Everything just looks and feels so authentic, from the villages to the forestry, all of the mountainsides and the hilltops, it all feels so real. Everything is presented with such poise and sophistication, and we get those small moments of both beauty and grace and poignancy, and it's just fantastic to see. And for me, the series evokes so many vibes that I've seen previously from the likes of House of Flying Daggers, The Last Samurai, or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But it's also crucial to point out here that you shouldn't go into Shogun expecting wall-to-wall spectacle and action. The story itself is much more of a character piece, driven more by the politicking, the maneuvers, the tactics and the strategy, and the focus is much more on secrecy and reveals and betrayal, and much more history and backstory. The action itself is much more centered within the council meetings, the closed surroundings and the background discussions, and yet there remains a constant intrigue and tension as we see events developed throughout the story. Now admittedly, I'm not a fan of having to watch subtitle content for a sustained period, but that was never an issue with Shogun, and that was primarily because all of the dialogue feels very crucial and important to the story, so it always commands your attention. We then have to talk about the strongest element within the show, and that is both the characterization and the performances. And it's here that we have to start with the great Hiroyuki Sanada, appropriately cast as Lord Toranaga. He just carries that screen aura, bringing all of that gravitas, statesmanship, authority and conviction that you would expect an actor of his ability to exhibit. A truly commanding presence with every scene that he appears in. The real appeal of this character was trying to figure out the next chess move that he would play in order to gain the upper hand. We would constantly look at all of his decisions and evaluate some of the choices, and ultimately the many people that he would go on to sacrifice in order to gain his best moves. And Sanada just plays his character so brilliantly and so effortlessly at the same time. We then have to talk of the trio of strong female characters, and all of them indeed are very beautiful and commanding also in their presence. We have the seductive Lady Achiba, very much manipulating the other council members through her sexuality, and she herself was burdened by being the consort mother of the son of the original Taiko, who was the first ruler of the land. We then see Yusama Fuji, the granddaughter of Hiramatsu, who was one of Toryaga's most loyal soldiers. and she seems very much burdened by her destiny in terms of her way of life, especially when she's selected to be Blackthorn's consort. And she is also burdened with having to sacrifice her child, which we see in the early phases of the story, but there always remains a strong resolve to take her life within her own hands, and the ongoing dynamic between her and Blackthorn is handled very well, and we get some genuinely touching moments over the series, especially as we head towards the season finale. We then cannot talk about this show without mentioning Mariko, played by the stunningly beautiful Anna Sawai. Now, I fully understand within 2024 that Sydney Sweeney is capturing the attention online, but in her role as Mariko, Anna Sawai is absolutely captivating in every single scene, and you simply cannot take your eyes off her. And in the role as Mariko, she has that compassion and also angst, as we learn that she's burdened with the stigma that her father killed the former lord of Japan before the Taiko took residency, and how her whole family was sentenced to death because of this act, and how very much that reputation has followed her throughout her adult life. We see her very much trapped in the marriage to Buntaro, as well as her duty as being the interpreter for Blackthorn. It's a wonderful, very tender performance, and she truly shined, especially in the penultimate episode before her fate was sealed, which I'm still not very happy about. We also have to mention Yabushe, the very charismatic and often comic relief, especially with his dynamic with Blackthorn. He was a very interesting character due to his ongoing duplicitous nature, and again he provided so much in terms of the interesting elements all throughout the story, and there were so many other characters, all with great personalities and motivations that you could easily understand and follow, and this is what made them so compelling to watch. Now, for all of its merits, Shogun wasn't flawless, and there were some issues, mainly around the pacing. Now, whilst the story was very steadily developed, I did feel that at times it was a bit prolonged. We would get episodes that were roughly around 50 to 100 minutes long, and at times the narrative didn't move as quickly as what it should have done. Yes, it was always interesting watching all of the character dynamics, but sometimes you would get to the end of the episode and you would actually feel that not actually a lot happened in terms of the actual narrative. So the pace definitely could have been quickened at certain points. We then have to talk about the character of Blackthorn, and I'm probably going to be in a minority here, because in the beginning of the show he was set up to be the most integral character within the story, again due to his knowledge of the high seas and the weaponry, and various characters wanting to use that as a key asset. But as the story progressed, he becomes far less important to the story. I just kept asking, why exactly is he needed? If we look at what happens in the overall series, the biggest events can happen for the most part without Blackthorn being involved. And even a much hinted romance with Mariko loses its investment as we concentrate much more on her interesting backstory. Whilst there was nothing particularly against the actors, I just felt that there wasn't much in terms of chemistry between the two personalities. And whether it was due to the actor's erratic performance or just the character and how he was written, I mainly just found Blackthorn as for the most part a buffoon who was constantly saying the wrong things at the wrong time, and I think if this show was even more realistic, he probably would have been killed off a long time ago. But despite all of those issues, which are minor to be honest, I still feel that overall as a complete piece of television, Shogun Season 1 is truly elite. Again, a great example that you don't necessarily need large scale battles or intricate fight scenes in order for the story to be interesting. Now, it has been confirmed by the showrunners that there will not indeed be a Season 2 of the show, and when I look at the finale itself, whilst it was again a finely crafted episode, I did feel a bit shortchanged. It didn't really feel like an overall season finale. It almost felt like they weren't sure as to whether they were going to get a Season 2, so they rounded the story up nicely, but they left some dangling threads just in case a Season 2 would arise. With this series finale, where we see that pivotal scene between Torinaga and Yabushi, when Torinaga reveals the ultimate elements of his plan and what he intends to do in the future, and we get that great visual where we see his armies and Ishido's finally coming face to face. Now, a more complete story would have seen this battle take place, where we would have seen Torinaga emerge victorious and then go on to maintain peace throughout the land. But we didn't quite get that, and that was really a bit of a short-term disappointment given the fact that we had all that build-up and we don't really get to see the true fruition of Torinaga's plans. It makes it even more the disappointment given the fact that this will indeed be a one and done series. But despite all of that, I will still recommend highly Shogun if you haven't seen it already. It is without question so far the best television series of 2024, And when I see what's coming up on the horizon, I can only see House of Dragon Season 2 managing to stand up in comparison in terms of the same quality and storytelling and textured characterization that we saw in this overall series so far. So very pleasing when overall watching the series of Shogun, and so far it is definitely without question the best show within 2024. So here's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of Shogun Season 1, or indeed the final season. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further topics or movies or television series that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and obviously if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.